Welcome to Smoothies Intermediate. Now if you haven't watched my video on smoothies for beginners, you might want to watch that first because I go through some things in a little more detail. In this smoothie, we're going to put a little more nutrition into it in the form of greens. We're still going to start with flaxseed, although this time my blender is wet, and if you put flaxseed into a wet blender, it's going to blend and the flaxseed sticks to the side and it doesn't blend right and it's kind of chewy, and nobody wants a chewy flaxseed. So I use a coffee bean grinder for this. If you're going to get a coffee bean grinder, don't spend a lot of money on these. You can get these at a big box store or at a hardware store. That's where I got mine. They should only be around $15, $20 if they're on sale. So I'm going to put a tablespoon of flaxseed into my coffee bean grinder. Put the lid on. Get it going. And now I have ground up flaxseed that I can put straight into the blender. Set the coffee bean grinder aside. And I start with a banana, just like in the beginner. But this time, I'm going to put in some greens. And I'm going to use spinach. This is big leaf spinach, just a handful. If you have a regular blender, not a super duper blender like I have, but a regular blender, spinach works great, or some other soft green like Swiss chard, or I've also used dandelion greens that I've gotten from Whole Foods. Dandelion greens are very nutritious. They are kind of bitter, so you want to make sure that you're putting sweet fruit into the blender. If you have a super duper blender like I have a Vitamix. You can use tougher greens like kale. Kale is very, very nutritious. K-A-L-E is what I'm saying. So once you put that in, I do some fruit, I do some water. Here I have 8 ounces of water. And the other nutritious thing I'm going to put in is a green powder. Now I'm using Garden of Life brand. This is the perfect food original. If you go to Whole Foods or a vitamin type store, they'll have a section where they have things like this, green powders. And I don't put in a lot. It comes with a scoop, but I'll put in maybe half a scoop. I can taste this, and I don't really like the taste, but if I cover it up with a lot of good fruit, I'm good to go. Now this time, I'm going to use frozen fruit, flaxseed. I'm going to put in some frozen strawberries. Now you'll see when we mix red fruit with green, the color isn't very pretty. So if you want a pretty smoothie with your, when you're putting greens in here, spinach in there, you'll want to use lighter color fruits like peaches and pears, but not the red. Red and green are pretty at Christmas, but they don't mix well together. I'm also going to put in some frozen blueberries, and like with the beginner recipe, I froze these after I bought them at the farmer's market, so I have to rinse them off. Because I don't rinse them before I freeze them. Okay. I'm not going to do them all. So I put everything in. I'm ready to go. Now, if you use a more bitter green, some additional things you can put in here to sweeten it up. You can put in dates. I buy dates in these containers, the medjool dates, because they're sweet and they're chewy. Or you could put in some honey or some agave nectar to sweeten it up if your green is a little on the bitter side. Now, because I put frozen fruit in here, I didn't put any ice in. What is this? Well, with these super blenders like a Vitamix, it comes with a pusher, and it helps to push things down. I like the pusher. Now, just like in the beginner, if you taste your smoothie and it's too warm, put it back in the blender and put in some ice. If you taste it and it's too cold, it's going to give you that freezer headache thing. I hate that. Put it back in the blender and blend it for another 30 seconds or a minute to warm it up. And just like before, in the beginner smoothie, you can put it into this Tupperware cup. And you can take it with you, or if you're making your smoothie the night before and you want to drink it the next morning, this is a great cup too because it seals out all the air. It's got a little place to put a straw. It's not a hull, it's actually rubber and it's cut. So check with Tupperware to buy a set of these. Come in a set of 4. So that's a very nutritious smoothie. Make sure you watch my video on Smoothie Advanced because it's even more nutritious. I throw even more things into it because I want you to have a great start to your day.